Vice-Chancellor, the electorate's decision for us to leave the EU has come as a shock to many people. But what would you say that decision means for the higher education sector in the UK?
Well, I think as with all major businesses and institutions in the country, we're all concerned about a long period of instability. For us, particularly in relation to the admission of international students and EU students, if I was an EU student at the moment or an international student, I'm obviously going to be asking myself what kind of reception will I get in the UK, what kind of welcome will I get? And I think at DMU one of our first tasks is to reassure those students, particularly those students who are holding offers for this September and October, that nothing has changed in terms of the welcome they're going to get at DMU, the quality of their education, the intellectual stimulation, but we've got an important job of work to do now to reassure all those students. And I think the third thing is there's obviously a huge uncertainty about the research infrastructure. And if you look at what's happening at the moment, we're sitting here this afternoon, the Prime Minister's made a statement to the House of Commons, the Labour leaders faced 23 resignations from the shadow cabinet. It's not the most stable period to be in the UK, and we need to do all we can to reassure prospective students that this will be a welcoming place. But I've also got particular concerns about being able to reassure our international staff. We have over 300 international staff, of whom 120 or so come from the EU. And I want to make sure that we can fight to protect their residency rights and to reassure those and to come together.
So what are we going to do about this, and what can we do about this?
Well, I've been talking to a lot of staff. As you know, I held a staff address on Friday, literally 6 or 7 hours after the result was announced, because I felt that there would be enormous uncertainty, that there would be a danger that people would turn in on themselves, and I think that's been borne out. The country is basically split from top to bottom on this. The result of the referendum was very, very close. 17 million voted for leave, 16 million voted for remain. So as a country, we've got to start working pretty quickly to bring people together. As a university community, probably most people voted for remain. But I want to make sure that those who voted for leave feel respected, that they don't feel as if they're being ostracised in any way. But I also particularly want to make sure that international staff don't feel that they, are going to suffer incredible uncertainty about their residency status, that our staff generally don't feel as if they're going to suffer from increased discrimination and prejudice. And that's why we're going to launch a campaign. It's a campaign which we're going to call Love International, which is going to highlight our commitment to internationalisation, to DMU Global, but particularly our desire to protect the residency rights of our EU staff. At the moment, we have no idea how long the Brexit negotiation is going to take, and pretty quickly, I think, I'd like to see the government make a statement which says that all EU employees of British universities, their residency will be preserved and protected.
DMU is known as a university with a global approach and outlook. How will that change now?
Well, as I said on Friday, I think that we now need to redouble our efforts to demonstrate to people worldwide that we're a university that is committed to the public good, that is tolerant, that rejects discrimination in any form. And we have particular flagship projects that demonstrate that. So we've got the Square Mile, we've got Square Mile India, we've got DMU Global. I think we should now accelerate all of those activities. I'd like to see a massively increased engagement with continental Europe for DMU Global. I'd like us to now hold many more events overseas. I'd like us to demonstrate that our actions meet our rhetoric and that internationalisation will continue whether there's a Brexit or not.
And finally, what would you say to our international staff and students here?
You're enormously valued. I'd like to thank them for the contribution that they make to the success of our university. We learnt only last week in the mock TEF exercise that Times Higher ran that according to that league table, we're number 3 in the country. And all of our staff and all of our students, who include this international cohort, have played a crucial part in that. Obviously, there's going to be uncertainty. We don't even know when Article 50 is going to be triggered. There's going to be the election of a new Conservative Party leader who will become Prime Minister, potentially a new Labour Party leader. It's going to be very febrile for the next 3 or 4 months or so. But nothing is going to happen immediately in terms of Brexit. The negotiations will take at least 2 years. So once we've got past, perhaps for some, the first shock of the referendum result, we should recognise that nothing is practically going to change for British universities. But we're going to be a very vocal supporter of those who are, we're going to be in the forefront of those who are arguing to protect the rights of our EU staff and our EU students. And I was really pleased to read today that the University's Minister Jo Johnson has now made it quite clear that EU students who join DMU and all British universities this September will have their same tuition fees and loan opportunities guaranteed for the duration of their attendance. That's a really important announcement, because there was some concern that was uttered as early as last Friday that if you're an EU student starting in October 2016, what's going to happen for your year 18-19, your third year of studies if we Brexited? What will happen to your tuition fees? Will you be able to secure a student loan? And it's brilliant that the government have said yes, they will be able to, and that will be a very reassuring message that we will be getting out to all our EU applicants now, of whom we are expecting 500 to come this October.
So there's still lots to play for, lots to argue for.
Yeah, there's masses to play for, and I think it's really important that our staff recognise that universities now have a crucial role in this process. One of the things that I was particularly concerned about during the ghastly referendum campaign was this mood of anti-intellectualism, this idea that if you're educated or if you're an expert, you're to be distrusted or despised or considered to be, part of the other. And in one sense, it must be a failure on the part of universities not to be able to convey the importance of rigorously undertaken research and expert views. I consider the term academic expert, of which our academic colleagues deserve that title, to be something which is very positive. But clearly there's a disconnect at the moment between a certain tranche of society and another tranche of society, and we've got to work really hard with a degree of humility as universities to bridge that gap. But I also think we have to sort of stand firm, and we have to say it is really important to make decisions based on empirical research and to make informed decisions, and to say to our students it's really important that you consider these issues. I had a discussion with some students this morning, and they were outraged at the result. And it is true that 75% of 18 to 24-year-olds voted for Remain, but only 44% of them voted. So I said to those students, next time you feel really angry about something in terms of democratic engagement, remember how you're feeling now and make sure that you cast your vote. We've had 2 polling stations on campus on referendum day. We had 97% of our students registered to vote. You absolutely have to ensure that you're not disenfranchised going forward. And there's so much to play for. Perhaps another general election fairly soon. Who knows, perhaps even a second referendum if it's decided that it needs, the British people need to be consulted again. Who knows? I mean, in one sense it's a bit scary, but in another sense I think it could be potentially very invigorating if it recreates a sense of the importance of political discussion and engagement. Who knows?
Vice-Chancellor, thank you very much.
Thank you.